Declaration of Azande Peace and Security Efforts. A proclamation of the persistent, peaceful struggle for unity, justice, and reconciliation. Issued this 14th day of June, 2026, from the ancestral capital of Yambio, in the name of the Azande nation and all peoples of goodwill. Preamble. We, the Azande people, a nation fractured by colonial borders yet united by memory, language, and kinship, do hereby declare and make known to the international community our persistent, multi-generational efforts to secure peace, justice, and reconciliation across the three states that divide our homeland, the Republic of South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Between 1970 and 2026, the Azande people have not waited passively for salvation from distant capitals. We have organized. We have mediated. We have defended. We have rebuilt. Through formal advocacy, grassroots peace-building, cross-border collaboration, and cultural revival, we have consistently chosen unity over division, dialogue over violence, and dignity over despair. This declaration records our actions as evidence of our collective will, not merely as victims of history, but as architects of our own future. Article 1. The principles of our peace efforts. The Azande people affirm the following guiding principles that have animated all our peace and security initiatives. 1.1. Peace is not the absence of conflict but the presence of justice. We seek sustainable peace built upon truth, accountability, and the restoration of dignity to all communities. 1.2. The colonial borders that divided our nation shall not divide our spirit. We pursue cross-border cooperation as a fundamental strategy for healing. 1.3. Traditional authority, including the reinstated Azande Kingdom, 2022, serves as a legitimate and essential pillar of conflict resolution and community governance. 1.4. Cultural identity, language, festivals, songs, and customs is a weapon of peace, not a source of division. 1.5. Women, youth, and elders must be central to all peace-building processes, for they carry the memory of the past and the hope of the future. Article 2. Peace and security efforts in the Republic of South Sudan. 2.1. The Reinstatement of the Azande Kingdom, February 9, 2022. Event. On the 117th anniversary of King Gbudwe's death, the Azande Kingdom was officially reinstated in Yambio. Former Paramount Chief Wilson Peni was installed as king under the royal name Atoroba Peni Rikito Gbudue, the great-grandson of the last pre-colonial monarch. Leadership. His Majesty King Atoroba Peni Rikito Gbudue, Prime Minister Prince Tadeo Morio Sosa, the Council of Elders of the Azande Kingdom. Significance. This restoration represented the most significant act of political and cultural reclamation by the Azande in over a century. The king declared upon restoration that the kingdom was reborn not to divide, but to strengthen the nation's lost cohesiveness and work together for growth. He later reaffirmed, peace and unity are the pillars of the Azande Kingdom. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. The kingdom serves as a pan-national symbol for Azande across South Sudan, CR, and DRC, directly challenging the colonial erasure of Azande sovereignty. Importance for the Azande Declaration. This event demonstrates the Azande's capacity for self-governance and cultural renewal, directly supporting the Declaration's claim to a distinct political identity and the right to restore traditional institutions as legitimate authorities in peace-building. 2.2 CODEP Church Led Reconciliation between Azande and Balanda communities, May-June 2023. Event. The Catholic Organization for Development and Peace, CODEP, the social wing of the Catholic Diocese of Tombura Yambio, conducted multi-day peace-building workshops specifically aimed at ending violent conflicts between the Azande and Balanda communities in Tombura County, a region devastated by ethnic bloodshed. Leadership. Father Dominic Sosa, Chancellor of CDTY, the Catholic Diocese of Tombura Yambio, CODEP facilitators, community chiefs from both Azande and Balanda communities. Impact. The initiative brought together motorcycle riders, chiefs, and community members who had previously refused to meet. Father Sosa reported, in our first activity, we met the motorcycle riders of Tombura composed of Azande and Balanda who could not come together. The community leaders from the two sides say it was politicians who misled them to rise up against each other. The communities were described as impressed by the peace initiative, and Tombura County was reported as currently calm. Beneficiaries called for the program to extend to villages because this is where conflict always starts. Importance for the Azande Declaration. These grassroots, faith-based initiative directly addresses the ethnic violence documented in the Declaration's list of current violations. It proves that Azande are actively healing internal divisions through local agency, not waiting for state intervention. 2.3 Formation of the National Council of Traditional Authorities, November 2025. Event: the Kingdoms of Azande, Enuak, and Shilluk convened all traditional chiefs to form the National Council of Traditional Authorities of South Sudan, a unified body to support national peace and governance. Leadership: Prince Tadeo Morio Sosa, Prime Minister of the Azande Kingdom and head of the newly formed council. Statement of purpose: they have convened all traditional chiefs to form the National Council of Traditional Authority of South Sudan, which I am currently leading. Our goal is to recognize that the responsibility cannot rest solely on the National Legislative Assembly without including the traditional authorities, who are vital to the country's governance. The Council aims to play a crucial role in mediating conflicts, advocating for efficient service delivery, and securing spaces for schools and hospitals. Significance: this marked the first time Azande traditional leaders formally organized at the national level to influence peace and governance policy, asserting their rightful place in South Sudan's political architecture. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this effort directly supports the Declaration's demand for meaningful political inclusion and power-sharing arrangements, demonstrating that Azande are not passive subjects but active shapers of national governance. 2.4 The Traditional Peace Hub in Bazangwa, October 2025. Event: with support from the United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, and the Rural Development Action Aid, RDA, a traditional peace hub was constructed and handed over to the Azande Kingdom in Bazangwa Payam, Yambio County. The facility serves as a center for dialogue, cultural exchange, mediation, and community planning. Leadership: HM King Atoroba Peni Rikito Gbudue, UNMISS Civil Affairs Division, Mr. Rudolph Esombaya Fanj, RDA, Mr. Abraham Wiko, Prime Minister Tadeo Morio. Description: this peace hub is a beacon of reconciliation for all tribes in Western Equatoria. It represents how people can live together peacefully and embrace their cultural diversity, Rudolph stated. The hub hosts traditional meetings, community dialogues, youth and women empowerment sessions, cultural celebrations, and training on human rights and governance. Prime Minister Tadeo Morio explained, the trees symbolize unity and stability, reflecting our shared roots and our commitment to stand together. Significance: this initiative, supported by an international body, demonstrates the Azande Kingdom's recognized role as a legitimate and effective authority in peace building. It provides a practical model for the type of international partnership called for in the Azande Declaration. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this hub operationalizes the Declaration's call for international peacekeeping and monitoring support, showing that Azande institutions are ready and capable partners in sustaining peace. 2.5 First Ever Azande Cultural Festival, October 10 to 11, 2025. Event: the Azande Kingdom launched its inaugural cultural festival at Yambio Freedom Square, themed Celebrating Our Unity Through Cultural Diversity. The two-day celebration united communities from across Western Equatoria in a vibrant showcase of traditional dances, foods, and shared heritage. Leadership: HM King Atoroba Peni Rikito Gbudue, Acting Governor Justin Joseph Marona, Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative, Dr. Monday Daniel, Minister Sebit Anglo-Obib. King's Declaration: without other tribes in the kingdom, it cannot develop alone. But with the involvement of other tribes, we will progress faster. Today, I have seen various tribes here. That is what the kingdom needs: unity among all tribes. The king clarified that the Azande Kingdom does not seek to overshadow other traditions but aims to serve as a platform for cultural cooperation and mutual respect. Call for disarmament: speaking at the festival, Acting Governor Marona urged all armed groups in Western Equatoria to abandon violence. This call does not mean that we fear or cannot fight. But we are calling for peace because innocent civilians are suffering. Peace is the only way forward. Cross-bridge representation: the festival welcomed communities from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and the Central African Republic, affirming a shared commitment to unity across borders. Importance for the Azande Declaration: the festival showcases the Azande's use of cultural revival as a tool for peace and interethnic harmony, directly supporting the Declaration's call for cultural and linguistic preservation. It also demonstrates the Azande Kingdom's inclusive vision, welcoming all tribes as equal partners. 2.6 High-level engagement with national government, 2025 to 2026. Events, multiple engagements between the Azande Kingdom and South Sudan's national leadership, including October 2025, Azande Council of Elders invited Presidential Envoy Honorable Adot Salva Kiir to Yambio to strengthen ties between traditional institutions and the national government. February 2026, National Legislative Assembly Speaker German Komba visited Yambio for the Azande Kingdom's 4th anniversary, stating, "I have come to meet the people, to brief them on national issues and encourage peaceful coexistence." Ongoing, King Atoroba has consistently used public platforms to call for peace, dialogue, and reconciliation among all South Sudanese communities. Significance: these high-level engagements demonstrate the Azande Kingdom's growing political legitimacy and its strategic use of diplomatic channels to advocate for peace, development, and political inclusion. Importance for the Azande Declaration: these actions directly support the declaration's call for good faith negotiations between Azande representatives and national governments, proving that Azande leadership is ready to engage constructively at the highest levels. Article 3. Peace and security efforts in the Central African Republic. 3.1 Formation of the Azande and Self-Defense Militia, March 2023. Event, in response to escalating attacks by the mainly Fulani Union for Peace in Central Africa, UPC, rebel group on Azande settlements, the Azande and AKG militia was formed. The name translates to, "Too many Azande people have died." Leadership: General Limain, local Azande commanders, community elders who organized the defense. Actions taken. On March 3, 2023, the group demanded the resignation of the prefect of Otmbomo, whom they accused of colluding with UPC. On March 15, 2023, AKG captured the strategic town of Bambuti from UPC rebels. On March 30, 2023, UPC attacked to recapture Bambuti. AKG repelled the attack. AKG has since operated in partnership with the Central African Armed Forces, FARC, and the Wagner Group to combat UPC and other rebel groups. Context: young Azande militants cited feelings of abandonment by the CA state as their primary motivation, facing attacks from pastoralist militias with no government protection. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this action is a direct response to the violence and lack of state protection described in the declaration. It highlights the desperation of a people taking up arms when their basic security is denied by the state, underlining the urgent need for a durable political solution. Notably, the Azande Kingdom has distanced itself from those who would use the AKG for pan-national military ambitions, prioritizing peace over armed expansion. 3.2 Continued civilian protection efforts in Bomo and Otmbomo, 2023 to 2026. Event: throughout the period 2023 to 2026, Azande communities in the Bomo and Otmbomo prefectures, towns of Obio, Rafai, Zimio, have organized community protection networks, collaborated with international peacekeeping forces where available, and maintained cross-border communication with Azande Kin in South Sudan for early warning and support. Significance: despite ongoing instability and documented human rights violations, including UN reports of summary executions, sexual violence, and forced labor in 2025, Azande communities have not abandoned their homeland. They continue to advocate for state protection while relying on traditional clan networks for survival. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this persistence in the face of extreme adversity supports the declaration's claim that the Azande people have never voluntarily abandoned their territory and that the state has failed in its duty to protect them, justifying the call for international intervention. Article 4. Peace and security efforts in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 4.1 Grassroots reconciliation through music and culture, January 2025. Event: in Otwele Province, the NGO Actions pour la Promotion Rurale (APRU) launched a peace song to reconcile the Logo and Zonda, Azande, peoples living in the territories of Foroj and Dungu, where tensions had led to violence. Leadership: Jean-Claude Malitano, Regional Coordinator of APRU, local musicians from Dungu, Ndido, Sambia, Akuwa, and Foroj. Message of the song: the message in this song is a call to awareness. The brother people's Logo and Zonda must stay together, forgive each other, and resume their lives with the blood pact that their ancestors signed. The lyrics urge, Logo and Zonda, we must reconcile. Let us stop killing each other with machetes and arrows. Lower our weapons. Let us call for unity, for living together, as our ancestors did. Significance: this cultural peace-building initiative demonstrates the Azanda's commitment to nonviolent conflict resolution, using music, a universal medium, to reach across ethnic divisions and appeal to shared ancestral bonds. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this effort supports the Declaration's call for cultural preservation as a peace-building tool and demonstrates that Azande in the DRC are actively working to prevent ethnic violence despite minimal state support. 4.2 Advocacy for Security Reinforcement in Otwele, 2026. Event: deputies from Otwele Province met with the Vice Prime Minister of Defense in Kinshasa to advocate for the strengthening of security mechanisms to consolidate peace and protect the population. Leadership: elected deputies from Otwele, civil society representatives. Significance: this is a clear case of formal political advocacy within the DRC's established governance structures. It counters the narrative of a passive population, showing Azande direct engagement with the state for the protection guaranteed to all citizens, a right the Azande Declaration asserts has been systemically denied. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this action demonstrates that Azande in the DRC seek resolution through lawful channels and state engagement, supporting the Declaration's call for good faith negotiations rather than armed rebellion. Article 5: Cross-border and pan-national peace initiatives. 5.1 Cross-border invitations and solidarity, 2025 to 2026. Events: the Azande Kingdom has consistently extended invitations to its anniversary celebrations, February 2026, to Azande from the DRC, CAR, and Uganda. The events were purposely organized to promote peaceful coexistence, unity, cultural identity, and social cohesion among South Sudanese communities and across the region. Leadership: King Atoroba Peni Rikito Gbudue, representatives from DRC and CAR who attended the 2025 foundation laying ceremony for the new royal palace. Statement: representatives from DRC and CAR reaffirmed that the Azande Kingdom transcends borders, belonging to all Azande people worldwide. This kingdom is not limited to South Sudan alone. We urge all Azande, wherever they are, to recognize and embrace it as a unifying heritage. Significance: this cross-border reunification directly challenges the legitimacy of colonial borders that divided the Azande nation. It demonstrates an active, peaceful movement toward rebuilding Sendazan through cultural and political recognition rather than armed conflict. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this is the living embodiment of the Declaration's central claim to restore the political unity of the Azande people across 3 states. It proves that unity is pursued through peaceful cultural diplomacy, not through conquest. 5.2 Cross-border cooperation against the Lord's Resistance Army, circa 2008 to 2010. Event: during the height of LRA operations in the tri-border region of CAR, South Sudan, and DRC, Azande communities coordinated cross-border security information sharing, early warning systems, and joint advocacy with international forces, including Operation Lightning Thunder, 2008. Azande civilian protection committees operated across the 3 countries, using kinship networks to track LRA movements and warn threatened villages. Significance: this period demonstrated the practical value of cross-border Azande cooperation in the absence of effective state security. It created a template for future security collaboration and reinforced Pan-Azande identity as a survival mechanism. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this historical precedent supports the Declaration's claim that colonial borders are artificial impediments to natural security and social networks, and that reunification would enhance, not undermine, regional stability. 5.3 Peaceful coexistence with neighboring communities, ongoing. Event: throughout the documented period, the Azande Kingdom has consistently emphasized that it belongs to all tribes, not exclusively to the Azande. King Atoroba declared, "The Azande Kingdom is not just for the Azande alone. It is a symbol of unity where all ethnic groups can coexist in peace and respect." Specific invitations include: in the Azande Declaration, the nation explicitly welcomed Zakara, Bonda, Mangbetu, Logo, Balanda, Bororo, and more than 30 other communities to join as equals in a future Azande state. Significance: these statements and actions refute claims that Azande self-determination would lead to ethnic exclusion or violence. The Azande have consistently demonstrated commitment to multi-ethnic, inclusive governance. Importance for the Azande Declaration: this principle directly responds to concerns that Azande self-determination would harm minority communities. The evidence shows that Azande leadership has actively promoted inclusion as a core value of the kingdom. Article 6. The impact of these efforts. The cumulative effect of these Azande-led peace and security initiatives over 5 decades has been 6.1 Restoration of traditional authority structures capable of mediating conflict, advocating for community needs, and partnering with international peacekeeping missions. 6.2 Reduction of ethnic violence in targeted areas, as demonstrated by the CODEP Reconciliation in Tombura County, where previously warring Azande and Balanda communities now coexist. 6.3 Establishment of physical infrastructure, the traditional peace hub that institutionalizes peace building rather than relying on ad hoc interventions. 6.4 Recognition at national and international levels of the Azande Kingdom as a legitimate peace-building partner, evidenced by unmissed support, high-level government visits, and invitations extended across international borders. 6.5 Preservation of cultural identity as a peace resource, demonstrated by the inaugural cultural festival and the peace song in Otwele. 6.6 Demonstration of capacity for self-governance, as the Azande have organized security, reconciliation, advocacy, and cultural revival without waiting for state solutions that have not materialized. Article 7. The importance of these efforts for the Azande Declaration. Each documented effort directly supports the Azande Declaration's core claims. 7.1 Political consciousness and capacity. The formation of the National Council of Traditional Authorities, the Reinstated Kingdom, and high-level government engagements prove the Azande possess persistent political consciousness and organizational capacity, one of the criteria for self-determination under international law. 7.2 Peaceful intentions. The emphasis on cultural festivals, reconciliation workshops, inclusive invitations to neighboring tribes, and rejection of pan-national armed mobilization demonstrates that the Azande seek self-determination through peaceful, inclusive means, not through conflict or ethnic exclusion. 7.3 Willingness to engage. The multiple documented engagements with state governments, South Sudan, DRC, and international partners, Ronmis, Whitaker Peace Initiative, show that Azande leaders are ready for good faith negotiations and international partnership, as called for in the declaration. 7.4 Need for state protection. The formation of the Azande Ani Kaibi in Sierra, the ongoing displacement and massacres documented in the declaration, and the minimal state services reported across all 3 countries demonstrate that existing states have failed in their duty to protect Azande civilians. This supports the principle of remedial secession. 7.5 Cultural and linguistic preservation as peace tools. The cultural festival, peace song, traditional hub, and the kingdom's public statements all demonstrate that cultural revival is not a threat but a peace-building resource. This supports the declaration's demand for protection of Pozan and Azande heritage. 7.6 Cross-border unity as a realistic goal. The documented cross-border invitations, attendance by DRC and Sierra representatives at Azande Kingdom events, and shared kinship networks prove that reunifying Azande across colonial borders is not a fantasy but an ongoing reality, achieved peacefully through cultural diplomacy. 7.7 Invitation to all tribes. The king's repeated statements that the Azande Kingdom belongs to all tribes, and the specific listing of more than 30 invited communities in the declaration demonstrate that Azande self-determination is inclusive. This directly responds to concerns about minority rights. Conclusion. Between 1970 and 2026, the Azande people have not waited for salvation. We have organized traditional authorities where colonial powers abolished them. We have mediated ethnic conflicts where governments failed. We have defended our communities where states abandoned us. We have celebrated our culture where others sought to erase it. And we have extended our hand in friendship to all neighboring tribes, inviting them to join us as equals in building a peaceful, prosperous, and united Azande. These documented efforts, spanning 5 decades and 3 countries, constitute more than a record of suffering. They constitute a record of agency, a record of resilience, a record of repeated, consistent, peaceful action towards self-determination, justice, and reconciliation. We do not present these efforts as a substitute for the restoration of our sovereignty. Rather, we present them as evidence that we are ready for that sovereignty. We have governed ourselves before. We have rebuilt our institutions after colonial destruction. We have made peace where there was war. We have built bridges where borders were meant to divide. The Azande people have earned the right to determine their own future, not through violence, but through the patient, persistent, peaceful work of generations. Issued in the name of the Azande nation, this 14th day of June, 2026, from the ancestral capital of Yambio. For the Azande Peace and Security Council. Signatures of traditional leaders, civil society representatives, and community peace builders from across Azande.